Millions of Americans today are facing a troubling, underappreciated health threat hiding in plain sight, one that stems not from a poor diet or sedentary lifestyle alone, but from a category of medications trusted to heal. Antidepressants, used by roughly 1 in 10 American adults, have long been heralded as vital tools in the battle against depression and anxiety. But as new research reveals, these same medications may be silently laying the groundwork for another crisis: a dramatic increase in long-term weight gain and obesity. In a 6-year study tracking over 6,000 adults in Spain, researchers found that individuals taking antidepressants were twice as likely to gain significant weight compared to those not on these medications. And this wasn't simply a matter of lifestyle. Diet, physical activity, and baseline mental health were accounted for. The weight gain emerged as a persistent side effect, particularly among long-term users, with roughly 25% of participants gaining more than 5% of their body weight, an increase that's medically associated with higher risks for type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and painful joint conditions. In simple terms, the longer you're on these drugs, the more likely you are to gain weight in ways that compromise your long-term health. The danger is even more severe when you realize how easily this cycle can spiral. For patients already battling the emotional weight of depression or anxiety, the additional burden of physical weight gain can be devastating. This is not just about aesthetics or body image, though those too can worsen mental health, but about a slow, compounding risk that turns a treatment into a contributor to the very disease burden it's meant to alleviate. Increased weight gain leads to metabolic stress. That stress disrupts sleep, damages the joints, affects hormone levels, and feeds back into the depressive cycle, reinforcing the need for medication that may worsen the issue further. It's a cruel and ironic loop that too few patients are warned about, and many don't see coming until it's too late. Worse still is the lack of clarity around why this happens. While researchers understand that antidepressants like SSRIs, such as Prozac, Zoloft, or Lexapro, manipulate serotonin levels to improve mood, they also now recognize serotonin's critical role in appetite and satiety. Initially, SSRIs tend to reduce appetite, and some patients even lose weight early on. But over time, the brain adapts. Receptors become less sensitive, serotonin signaling is dulled, and the person starts to experience cravings, especially for fast-acting mood boosters like sugar and refined carbs. This shift is insidious. It doesn't happen overnight. It sneaks in gradually, camouflaged as normal aging or lifestyle drift, when in reality it's a pharmacological side effect that is rarely discussed in the doctor's office. The reality is that modern antidepressants, while safer and more effective than older generations of psychiatric drugs, are still imperfect. Common side effects such as sexual dysfunction, fatigue, insomnia, and gastrointestinal distress are widely known, but the metabolic effects, and especially the long-term implications for obesity, are dangerously overlooked. When a person gains 5, 10, or 20 pounds over the course of a few years, it may not initially be alarming, but the biological effects of even modest weight gain can set off a cascade of chronic disease risks that burden the individual for decades. Doctors like Dr. Gabriela Lugan and Dr. Victor Perez now urge the medical community to weigh the benefits of antidepressants against their metabolic costs more carefully. While these medications are absolutely life-saving for many, they are not one-size-fits-all solutions. Certain types, such as mirtazapine and paroxetine, are especially associated with weight gain and may be prescribed without adequate consideration of alternatives. What's more troubling is that many patients, particularly those on long-term regimens, are never reevaluated or offered supplementary strategies such as therapy, exercise-based interventions, or nutritional counseling. The prescription becomes a permanent fixture rather than a temporary aid. In the name of mental stability, long-term physical decline is silently traded away. And for patients who do notice this change and want to stop taking their antidepressants, the path isn't simple. Withdrawal from SSRIs and similar drugs can be physically and emotionally brutal, with symptoms like dizziness, mood swings, intense fatigue, insomnia, and the infamous brain zaps. Sudden, uncomfortable jolts in the head that can feel like tiny electric shocks. These symptoms make self-directed discontinuation dangerous and often force patients to remain on medications longer than they might otherwise wish to. It becomes a trap, stay on the medication and risk worsening physical health, or go off and suffer potentially debilitating withdrawal. This is no real choice. It's a lose-lose scenario for many. This is not to say antidepressants should be abandoned. For millions, they remain essential. But this study shines a harsh light on a reality that has too long been ignored. These drugs carry long-term consequences that are not just inconvenient, but potentially life-altering. We are in the midst of twin epidemics, mental illness and obesity, and the intersection of the two demands honest, rigorous conversation. Antidepressants must be prescribed with full transparency, regular follow-up, and a holistic treatment plan that includes lifestyle support, not just a pill and a check-in once a year. Americans deserve better than a false choice between mental wellness and physical health. They deserve a healthcare system that treats the whole person, anticipates side effects, and provides real alternatives. As the prevalence of antidepressant use continues to rise, so too must our vigilance in confronting the unintended consequences before a drug meant to lift the spirit becomes the silent agent of chronic disease.